These diversity trainings have become a way of injecting really divisive and frankly racist rhetoric into the workplace.
No, and to say that Robin DiAngelo is one of the worst racial ideologues, when we have white supremacists marching in Ohio and people repeating Nazi language in our politics, I think it's a little rare.
But they're not being hired to give diversity seminars.
Hello, everybody. Guys, we got CNN's Laura Coates. She's going to get right into this panel. And guys, you have to check this out. We'll talk about it.
DEI in concept, a political lightning rod, especially among conservatives, Harry. How do Republicans and Democrats view it?
Yeah, what is driving this decline? It's Republicans. Okay, important to want to know a business's DEI stance. You go back to 2021. Look, there was a partisan divide between Democrats and Republicans. Democrats coming in at 86%, Republicans coming in at 50%. Democrats have basically stayed pretty steady on this issue, right? In 2024, it's 79%, a slight drop, but not so far off from that 86%. Look at Republicans. Look at this drop-off in this number. 50% back in 2021 said it was important to know a business's stance on DEI. Now, it's just 22%. That is a drop of more than half from 2021 to 2024. And that, of course, is mirroring what we're seeing from politicians, from Republicans, folks like Donald Trump. The bottom line is the Republican base on DEI 3 years ago, kind of lukewarm, now in vast opposition to it. They don't want to hear anything from businesses on DEI, and I think that's why you're seeing a lot of businesses differentiating themselves out, saying, you know what, we're taking a step back.
That's why, guys, corporations, they don't have your back. They always do crap like this, right? Wherever the wind is blowing, they'll go over there. Like, these guys never gave a crap about DEI. And this is what I mean. This is why it's so dangerous. The right wing owns the internet airways. The amount of just disgusting anti-DEI, calling it anti-white and it's racist. The influx of this information. It's nonstop. They're essentially, indoctrinating their people, their followers. It's pretty disgusting and insanely dangerous, and is why I continue to make these videos day in and day out.
And now with the Republican trifecta, I wonder how that might continue to change over time. Harry Enton, these numbers speak volumes. So good to see you. Happy Thanksgiving week, my friend.
You as well, Laura.
Well, here to debate the merits of DEI, Celeste Headley, award-winning journalist, author, and president and CEO of the racial justice nonprofit Headway, and Coleman Hughes, CNN political analyst, contributor at the Free Press.
Guys, pay attention to Coleman Hughes, the guy on the right. He's a snake. He's calm. He has this, relaxed demeanor, but he's just as snaky to me as a Charlie Kirk, as a PBD, and all these disgusting people like Scott Jennings that are against DEI and call it racist and it's anti-white. And he's again one of these close the door behind me mentality. He's a grifter. He's making money from pandering to white nationalists.
And host of the Conversations with Coleman podcast. Good to have you both on. Celeste, listen, you've advised corporations on diversity initiatives, and Walmart made most of these proclamations after the death of George Floyd. Now we've listed the ways in which they've rolled it back. Did they go too far in the past?
No. There was a lot of corporations that made frankly long overdue efforts to try to bring equity, which is just another word for fairness, to the workplace, and diversity, which is just another word for bringing in the best talent that you can get and making sure you don't have an echo chamber. And they've started rolling them back before it even became a real political football to a certain extent. So, there hasn't always been an American corporate investment in the type of changes that need to happen in order to bring about equity and justice. So it didn't surprise me at all that they began to roll them back. But did they go too far? No.
Coleman, did they give it a fair shot, or was this as far as they were prepared to go based on the pressure they were having already to do away with it?
The pressure to do away with it is coming from a totally understandable and justified place. Corporations spend $8 billion a year on so-called diversity trainings. And to give one example, Coca-Cola had a so-called diversity expert come in and tell employees to try to be less white, whatever exactly that means. These diversity trainings have become a way of injecting really divisive and frankly racist rhetoric into the workplace. And that's where the backlash is coming from. People are sick of it. They're right to be sick of it. If DEI were just as benign as...
I mean, I have to stop that. I mean, you guys hear, this is no different than when Charlie Kirk says woke has made him more racist because now he sees a black pilot, he doesn't think that they're really qualified. This is the same thing. This guy is saying the same thing, just in a roundabout way. He goes with this calm demeanor, this emotionless little snake, and he knows this is not the point of DEI, and picks one random example from the cloud and says that this represents holistically what DEI is. He's a disgusting little snake. He has this mentality of let me get mine and forget if it hurts my community. And there's a lot of people like that, i.e. PBD, Ramaswamy. It's a lot of people like that. Byron Donalds, Tim Scott, snakes.
As Celeste, you were describing, very few people would have a problem with it. Very few people would have a problem with simply acknowledging that we've got to cast a wider net when we're looking for executives in the C-suite and look in places, don't just call your best friends and do more to, include historically disadvantaged groups. But it's become much more toxic than that.
Celeste, what's your reaction?
Yeah, it's become more toxic because it's a talking point in politics.
Guys, let me know in the comments below. Has your company become overrun by DEI and woke stuff? And racial discrimination has increased at the workplace because of it? Are you kidding me? Let me know in the comments. This is insane.
It's true that a lot of the traditional DEI training actually doesn't work. I think Coleman and I could agree on this here. In fact, there's often a backlash. But there's evidence-based training that helps people to become, to help them to learn to embrace all kinds of differences. There's not just racial differences. There's LGBTQ.
And I'm sorry, one quick thing. If DEI, initiating DEI in a company, has made people more racist, think about why that is. And think about who I'm assuming it would be the white people. Just think about that for a second. Who would be hurt by that? Who would feel like this is racist against them? Just because you're helping out a disenfranchised subgroup of the population? Whether it's Hispanics or black people or Middle Eastern. This is insane to me. This is just disgusting. This is white nationalism, guys. This is white imperialism and trying to keep their stronghold. This is how they see it. It's a skin color thing to them.
Plus differences. There's disability difference. There's neurodiversity. There's age. There's weight. There's a lot of differences. And the best evidence-based training is just helping people learn how to respect one another and work well in collaboration, regardless of what those differences are. That's the basis of belonging. And the only reason we talk about belonging, inclusion, is because belonging is so important to our species.
And because historically, subgroups of the population have been left out. How do they not understand this? And the reason why I always bring up black people, because this is what 9 out of 10 times when these people hear, these right-wing racist nut jobs, hear DEI, they think black person. And I know it includes Hispanics, lesbian, gays, trans people, disabled people like she mentioned, but that's just not how they see it. They go straight to the color thing. You tell me what that is.
So, this has become toxic because of the way that politicians talk about it, but the essence of DEI initiatives is just getting people to bring in a diversity of opinions, which is how human beings work best together and learn how to work well with one another.
Coleman, what's your reaction to that? Do you think that, speaking of what's the toxicity of the political talking point, has political rhetoric contributed to a misunderstanding of the difference between the core reason and the implementation?
I think the story is exactly backwards there. Politics is reacting to a genuine phenomenon that's been going on for years. The reason DEI became toxic is because it went from a very early, kind of more benign, softer version. After 2020, the worst and most racist ideologues became the most popular DEI proponents. For instance, Robin DiAngelo.
Guys, think about that. He thinks the most racist ideologues are the ones defending and pushing DEI, but doesn't recognize that the guy he bends over for and bends the knee for, Trump, is one of the most racist people that we've ever had in politics, that's, you know, a celebrity or in the eye. This is the guy you support. That party in itself despises people because of your skin color. That share the same skin color as you, Coleman Hughes. I'm gonna keep calling you to the end of time. You're a little snake.
Coca-Cola got the try to be less white thing from her. She was not some marginal figure. She was a best-selling author whose book White Fragility was.
He's bringing up this one person that may have said something ridiculous, like hate, you know, be less white or whatever. He has no other examples. Like, think about this. How disingenuous, how bad faith his arguments are here.
On the New York Times bestsellers list for like half of a year. Okay, so those were the most popular people. They brought in and popularized their brand of DEI, which is toxic and divisive, and that's what people that's where the backlash comes from.
But Coleman, on this point, I mean, you've mentioned Coca-Cola twice in this instance. Obviously, that's but one anecdote among many Fortune 500, 100 companies and beyond and broader. What do you say to the concept, though, to Celeste's point about the idea of inclusivity across a broader spectrum? Is that idea in and of itself counterproductive to the economy?
No, inclusivity is a good thing. I don't think that employees need to be lectured to the tune of $8 billion a year to be nice to each other. I think that can be done in a much more streamlined way, in a way that doesn't frankly condescend to people, and in a way that keeps any toxic racial divisive ideology completely out of it.
Celeste, is there a way to eliminate any toxicity or racism from the universe?
No, and to say that Robin DiAngelo is one of the worst racial ideologues, when we have white supremacists marching in Ohio and people repeating Nazi language in our politics, I think it's a little rare.
But
to
they're
call
not
Robin DiAngelo.
being hired to give diversity seminars.
So
He's literally defending these guys. He's literally defending these guys marching. White nationalists. This is what he does. He couldn't help but defend himself. The only time he ever shows emotion. I mean, this guy is disgusting. Okay, these people are not running DI. How about the president? And how about all the disgusting racist stuff he said, not only in this campaign, but the past 8 years we've been dealing with that moron. I'm telling you, guys like Coleman Hughes to me are much more dangerous than a Candace Owens. He has, again, this calm demeanor. It sounds like he's being reasonable. It's coming from a person with his skin color. It's highly dangerous, guys. And you saw the numbers. How much they've dropped already of people supporting DEI.
I'm going to be finished with what I'm saying. Not all the diversity seminars are that way. You're picking out something that you disagree with, which is fine, but you're making a generalization based on one example. I mean, the point of any DEI initiative is to bring diversity into a company, which is great for the bottom line. The companies that rank the lowest for DEI, for diversity in their ranks, underperform other companies by a staggering 30%. So this is good economics, it is good business, and to fight it when this is where the younger generations are going, seems to me to be pretty wrongheaded.
So Coleman, is your point, I know we have to go, but is part of your argument that the manner in which it's implemented is problematic, but the concept a good idea?
There's no way you can implement this. I know how these people's psyche works. There's no way you can implement this, and these people will be okay with it.
I think there's nothing wrong with a corporation having a policy about inclusivity, but the ideas themselves can't be divisive. The idea can't be to shame people, to make people feel guilty. The idea just has to be, quite simply, in this workplace, we talk to each other with respect, and here's what that means. Here's some examples of people crossing the line. That's it. That's all it has to be, just like any other workplace diligence thing that you would do when you're onboarding new employees. It doesn't have to be this kind of struggle session that it became after 2020, where you're trying to make your white employees feel like, you know, they're racist, essentially. That's the crux of it. That's what people...
Guys, please let me know in the comments if you've ever had a session like that of DEI, a training where they put down white people. I'm sorry, but if you explain that some sections of the population have been historically disenfranchised, and that makes you feel as a white person as being oppressed, you really got to look at yourself in the mirror and really get some critical thinking and really think about why that is.
Don't like.
Celeste, is that, I know we have to go. I keep saying this, but I'm curious. is my understanding that is what Coleman is describing is in fact what the goal of most diversity training is about, not about trying to shame, it's about trying to enlighten. But you've studied this far more than I have.
Yeah, look, the hard truth here is that every single human being is biased. Every one of us is biased. So if it makes you feel bad to hear me say that, I apologize, but that's the truth. We all have biases. We haven't elected a president under 6 feet since the 19th century. There are many biases that we all are prey to, and they determine whether someone has success in their career or they don't, not just for people of color, but for women, for people with disabilities. And it should be in all of our best interests to make sure it's a fair playing field that is equitable. But even more, the business case is so strong. The fact that 30% of Gen Z identifies as LGBTQ+. This is, you know, fighting against the east wind. You know, this is where society is going. That's a healthy place, and businesses would be wise to embrace it.
You know, I'd like to hear you all converse first.
All right, she ends it there. But yeah, I think people like like Candace Owens and Coleman Hughes, they're extremely dangerous, but him more so than most people. Like, for sure, very likely he faced some type of racial discrimination in his life. How do you get to this point? Is it really just money for these guys? You're willing to sell yourself out like that? Sell your people out like that? Sell out even if it's not your people? Guys, I would be talking about this regardless. It doesn't matter that it's black people. If white people were being oppressed in this country, I would be fighting for them not to be. Like, these people are just truly disgusting. There's other ways to make money in this world. Do you really have to sell yourself out like that? He's defending white nationalists. But I'm going to leave it there, guys. Let me know what you think in the comments. And thank you for watching. I'll catch you in the next one.